Ola, good morning. How are you?
John, how are you doing today?
I am great. I am in Miami, so life is good. It's 70 degrees, a little cool for the day, but I'm very happy.
Well, I'm back in London, but the sun is shining here as well. Not quite as warm. And I'm sure I
Good.
don't have the same view. I'm sure I don't have the same view that you have.
Well, listen,
But
the sun is there, and that's important.
that is important.
Listen, we got a great guest today, and it's so timely because I mean, all the the activity in the banking world over the last 10 days has actually been astonishing. And we have the CIO, Stephen Liles of PNC Bank on today, which is pretty exciting. So we're going to be talking to him today around some of the interesting things they're doing at the bank. So maybe without further ado, we'll bring on Stephen.
Excellent.
Hey,
Hey
Stephen, how are
guys.
you?
Great. How are you doing?
Very good. Ola and I were just chatting. There's a lot going on in the banking world right now, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting times, I guess, for want of a better phrase. Tons
Well,
going on.
Well, thanks for taking time to visit with us today. I know you're busy, but you're doing some really interesting things at PNC Bank, and maybe you could take a few minutes because I realize you're really not part of the retail side of the bank, but really focus more on the treasury and payments piece. So maybe share a little bit about the role.
Sure. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Corporate and Institutional Banking. So in that capacity, I have responsibility for kind of everything that's not retail and not capital markets, I guess. So we serve large businesses. We help them function. And we really provide the lifeblood of their day-to-day functioning. So the portfolio uh, runs the gamut from just basic commercial lending. So we provide credit for businesses to make investments, expand, and we provide what's called treasury management services. That's a fancy way of saying bank accounts plus the ability to move your money around. So core payments, sending a wire, an ACH payment, now more and more real-time payments. It's becoming part of kind of the new. It's powering a lot of the innovation economy, a lot of the fintech economy. It's this idea of instant payments from account to account without having to be put in some kind of bucket or holding place like you would with a Venmo or some of those or PayPal or some of those other services. These are true account to account services. So that basically is the offering. And of course, we have digital channels to allow you access to your funds and move them around. And probably an area where we significantly differ from retail is in the whole idea of embedded finance. We have a very robust API offering, and our APIs, sort of to some extent, unlike the retail space, our APIs are actually used. Our customers are large companies with IT staffs of their own and internal applications and processes of their own. So often they much prefer to have, say, their ERP system or some other internal process simply wired directly to banking functions rather than having to swivel seat to our treasury management portal and send a wire or do make some other adjustment to banking. They would rather have the money movement happen in the context of some larger internal process. Their goal generally is not to move the
Truly,
money. Their goal is some other
and
undertaking,
truly
pay a bill.
digitizing their ecosystem, right? Stephen, is what it sounds like. You become a part of their ecosystem in a very digitized manner because they're using the API to get to that financial service that you're offering. It becomes does it become essentially part of their offering in some way? Like
the well,
I
well, well
don't
there's
maybe
there's
don't see it. I don't maybe don't see it, but it's behind there, right?
there's two aspects to this, right? There's the helping them digitize their internal operations, as I
Right.
described, and then there's in some ways the more exciting aspect of powering their offerings. So you can imagine sort of like a same day payroll kind of company. There are a lot of companies now that will allow a an hourly wage earner, say someone who works at McDonald's, to get paid today for some overtime they worked. Very important to these people because
Of course.
often they're living paycheck to paycheck, and extra money received now can mean the difference between a significant disruption in their life and not. So these companies are filling an important need, and so most of these companies will have an app. You'll have that app be in the hands of the McDonald's worker. They'll push a button that says, "I want to get paid now." But behind the scenes, that app is actually wired into one of our APIs. It calls our real-time payments API and causes the money to be moved immediately from the from McDonald's kind of core payroll account to that worker. And
That's
it's a, we're completely invisible. We're kind of behind the scenes, but we play a very important part in powering some of these really innovative offerings. You might, even more interesting, picture a moving company or a car rental company. Um, you might wire in some of our payments APIs to support a breakdown rescue service. Your truck breaks down by the side of the road. You need to
Right.
get it fixed. You need a hotel. You need something like that. We can push money to your account immediately to cover that. Or you've rented a truck to move some furniture, and the the rental company might have a list of casual laborers that you can work with. We can enable them to have an app that would allow each of those casual laborers to be paid immediately at the end of the moving day. It'll just drop money right in their account. Or a
Stephen.
restaurant could tip out their waiters at the end of the day, right, by pushing money directly to their accounts. And
That's
it's
fascinating.
completely seamless and very,
And that's
very,
got
very
to be changing, I would presume. You now have new business channels that you didn't have before, because you've now enabled those new business channels through these types of functions. That's just fascinating. And it's almost everybody pays for things. Everybody gets money for things. It drives the entire economy. And so it's almost an endless supply of potential, it feels like. Or am I just maybe being a little...
No. Allowing a business to embed seamlessly the movement of money in in their operations is really transformative, and it goes beyond the movement of money. You can improve operations significantly with other capabilities. For instance, picture your cable company. You've probably gone to their website to pay your bill online, and you'll put in your account number and your routing number and draft on your account. They have a surprising number of issues with that. People will fat finger the account number, the routing number, and the wrong account will be drafted, or the draft will fail because it's just not the right account number, and they have to run around trying to repair that, call the customer and figure out what's going on. We can, with account verification services, in real time instantly check to see if the name associated with the account actually matches the customer who's getting cable TV services. If they don't match, you can prompt the customer right away, this is not the right account, please fix it. And the servicing issue never occurs. It's less glamorous than some of the money movement stuff, but we have any number of services and capabilities that we offer that are allowing our customers to power offerings that they simply could not have offered before.
Right. Stephen, do you think common for other banks, or is PNC maybe a little different? Maybe a little innovative in this area.
All banks have an interest in doing this because all banks' customers are asking for it. It's sort of a natural. It's a natural outcome of the pressures of the new economy. But I do think we have been thinking about this and investing in this for years very aggressively, and I really do think that we're ahead here. If you look at the set of APIs we have, the professionalism with which we manage and deliver them, the ease with which we can onboard customers, I think it's night and day compared to some of our competitors.
Stephen, for some of your customers, is this like a differentiator at this point? Like maybe in 3 years it'll be what's expected, but is this a differentiator for, a moving company or a car rental company? Is this something they're looking at as something that differentiates them from their competition?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I think that often you can establish a banking relationship with the customer on the strength of these capabilities alone. Sometimes, as opposed to leading with a traditional credit offer, I'll give you a loan or something like that. We will lead with some API driven, embedded banking driven, creative solution to a problem the customer has. Our treasury management salespeople will sit down and in a consultative role just interview the customer, almost like we're doing here. What are your top 5 problems? How can we help? And then come up with a creative way of solving a problem that maybe their current bank or other banks have not been able to solve. That's your foot in the door, right? Maybe you don't make a tremendous amount of money from the fees for embedding that API in their processes, but they will be grateful. They will think of you as creative, and going forward, you will grow that relationship. And we've seen that over and over and over. It's a great way to drive to drive growth in our customer portfolio, is simply being able to solve problems creatively for our clients.
Now you're a bank first and foremost. So how do you get all this work done? Do you utilize third-party groups, or what is the relationship that you might have with service providers to kind of assist with this?
Yeah, I mean, this is, for some of these things, we're almost functioning like a tech company, and we would not have necessarily all of the hands and expertise we need. We have great people on staff, but we will always need, additional help above and beyond what we're able to hire in the marketplace. So we work with all of the major global service providers, global staffing providers, so that we have access to both on-site and offshore labor. Very, very, very deep pools of expertise and talent with those partners.
Right.
And we work with them very closely in a very collaborative, almost partner level way. I like to have senior people from those companies kind of at my table. I like to have them at the whiteboard with me. The better they understand what we're trying to do, and the more of a hand that they've had in crafting the solution, the better able they are to run with more than one parallel undertaking at the same time without having miscommunications, dropped balls, stubbed toes, etc. You want to get to the point where you and your delivery partners are completing each other's sentences.
That's a great way to put it.
Not much daylight between the two of us.
And you need that, I presume, both from a skill and a scale perspective, because it's highly innovative. Who knows what the next request is going to be coming from one of your customers, right? You got to be able to be agile enough to respond to it.
Truly agile.
Yeah, truly agile.
Small A agile, not just
not big.
Not just agile from the methodology perspective, right? But genuinely agile. And if you're going to try and rely, when you're doing truly innovative work like this, if you're going to try and rely on process alone and requirements, documents alone, and user stories alone to drive it forward, you're going to fail, or you're going to have suboptimal outcomes. You need passion, you need engagement, and you need just real immersion in the domain and what you're trying to do. Like I said, completing each other's sentences.
Yeah, I know that you work with a lot of providers. One in particular, CGI, their big focus is around experience. And it sounds like this type of the solutions you're looking to deliver require that customer, and that customer experience is a crucial component. I mean, I think it's got to be the ease of use and everything else. So these partners have to have experience in delivering customer experience, I think, right?
They do. Often it's very helpful to have a partner that's got global reach and global partnerships, that's worked with a lot of different companies and a lot of different industries all over the world. You get a fair amount of subtlety, nuance with regard to what is going to cause a customer experience issue and what isn't. Often the difference between a successful launch of a product and a disappointing one is the level of confusion you are injecting into your customers' lives, right? So you can have the most robustly, perfectly architected solution, be technically brilliant. If people are utterly baffled by it, or hate, or just annoyed by it, it will be seen as a failure or a disappointment. So it's incredibly important, and I think often expertise there comes from broad experience. So sometimes you just have to have seen over and over what works and what doesn't work. So I do find partners to be valuable.
Yeah, we always encourage, when I think about providers, I think what's interesting and exciting is there are so many things you can learn from other industries that aren't in banking that then you could apply to banking. And so to your point is that diverse group of talent that you're getting that have maybe been working with hotels or hospitality or other industries all of a sudden actually relate. I mean, Ola, you've had those experiences, right? I mean, where you've seen a provider bring new ideas.
Of course. That's one of the major values of working with external partners. No one has a monopoly on good ideas. No one has a monopoly on insight. And the broader you cast your net, the more open you are to talking to to a broad variety of potential partners, the better your solutions are going to be. 100%. I'm convinced of that.
And the more open you're going to be to the opportunity when it arrives as well, right? Stephen, I mean, I can just imagine you're now in a position where you as a company are now much better at understanding and recognizing and being able to enable customer experience. And that's got to translate beyond, like, just not just for the specific customer that maybe you're doing that work for, but starts to inform you about how to be more, customer centric in the other work that you do as well. I mean, I just think those things feed on each other. I think that's what tends to happen with innovation. We need diversity to be able to generate the ideas, but that in itself generates more innovation. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, it changes everything actually. What I really love about the embedded banking mindset, the API first approach to to your architecture and your software development, is the degree to which it enables innovation. It democratizes delivery to a large extent. I described a lot of use cases where we worked with our customers or perhaps external partners, to power solutions. But that set of APIs allows us internally also to build interesting offerings on top of our own APIs. But we can have people within our organization that specialize in customer experiences, focus on that, and not have to understand the complexities of the global payments ecosystem. They just call the API of one kind or another, and they can embed that capability in a very cool application. We had this experience at PNC with our retail channels, our retail digital channels. The year before last, we embedded domestic and international wires and other kinds of payments capabilities in our mobile app, and they provisioned a fantastic experience there because they were able to focus primarily on the experience and call the APIs that the corporate
all the business logic was already there. It was already
previously
done.
They would have been spending all of their time
time on the back end.
trying to figure out how to do the back end and get it through all the compliance, et cetera, security. Now we had a very secure, robust, reusable platform, if you will, that those new capabilities could be built on. We had we developed a business to consumer offering that allows, say, an insurance company to push a payout to a customer with a claim instantly. This might be important in a disaster situation or a car accident kind of situation on the site, and that is a really cool experience. An insurance person can hand an iPad to a client, and they can say, "This is how you pay me," hit OK, and money lands in their account, and that is powered 100% by our payments platform. But the people building it were not necessarily familiar with the payments platform. They were just great at provisioning good digital experiences.
And technologically, I would imagine, being a bank, you have probably a large degree and a large number of different technologies in your environment, mainframes, and I'm sure you're using cloud and you're using all these things. But I think the sort of separation into that API layer allows you to be able to use that logic, no matter where it is, through that API layer. And that's got to be generating even just faster ability for you to quickly be able to connect to all those different technologies that are in your environment. Of course, I am making a leap to say you have a lot of technologies in your environment, but I presume that you do. And it allows you to do that, right?
Any bank of any size will have a tremendous, hodgepodge of platforms, applications, et cetera. Many of them are older. Some of them are mainframe based or other older technologies. And and you're exactly right. Key to the success of this kind of mindset is that abstraction layer, that it's got a wrap and renew sort of capability. It allows you to expose a 40-year-old mainframe capability, perhaps something like ACH, a very traditional payment method, as a JSON interface standard microservice. It looks like something that you can embed in the newest and most modern application that you're building for your customers. Digital application.
That's a good point.
It democratizes it. I love coming back to that phrase. Anyone can build an application now that has these very complex capabilities without having to know much about them or the underlying technologies. I don't need to go find somebody that knows COBOL to write a little bit of additional COBOL. My abstraction layer is sort of it handles impedance mismatch for those electrical engineers out there between consumers and providers of services. It
Yeah.
can make things work without you having to hack away at ancient or relatively inflexible tech bases.
It's
Yeah, I think that the
something I
whole
talk.
rush
It's
to the
something I talk to clients about a lot. Is making sure that I recognize that I don't have to just move everything to the cloud and make everything cloud native in order for me to be able to use that abstraction layer of API and integration that allows me to just go obtain that business logic without having to do the literal coding related to to that business logic. I mean, that's
And it's
part of the
amazing, but
beauty. It is amazing. It's just it's really
far too many people make that exact mistake, right?
they do.
They feel that I can't do anything until I can do everything.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
I have to do this enormous like foundational effort for $200 million to renew everything, move everything to the cloud. Then I'll start actually delivering value that my business partners or customers might care about.
Yeah.
But you can wrap and renew. You can put an abstraction layer between you and the ancient garbage stuff, and you can start powering all kinds of cool new capabilities.
Yeah,
And you
and
can
Stephen,
delight your
it might
customers.
be
You
that
can
you
go
move it
ahead.
in a decade. Maybe you move it in a decade. It doesn't mean that you don't move it, but
But they
right
can
now
move at
just
different
make
paces. They can
yeah.
move at different paces, right? You can incrementally make progress toward a newer foundation without stopping all forward motion. Because in the current economy and given customer expectations, particularly post-pandemic, around digital experiences, you simply can't. You can't tell them just wait for the next 3 years for me to,
Well, you
or
also
four,
don't
which turns
generally
into
have.
10.
You also generally don't have. I like to say you don't have a bucket of money to just go say, "Wow, I'm going to go spend 3 years and as you said, millions of dollars potentially to go modernize everything." I love the idea of the abstraction layer, not just for my ability to use what's there, but it's also very useful to be able to modernize those older areas because I can do that incrementally rather than with one big bang or one
Exactly.
big bucket of money. And I just think it fuels so much availability of capability that's already there. I totally agree with you. And I do believe that there is, in some cases, maybe a naive thought that, well, I need everything to be cloud native. I need it all to be in, Python to be able to do the really cool things with customer experience. And frankly, I just don't. And
You
I think,
100% do not. You do not.
yeah, that's
Hey,
great. It's a great
Stephen,
message.
in September, the PNC made an interesting acquisition, Linga, for restaurant operating systems. I thought that was a unique move for a bank. Maybe you can explain some of the strategy around that acquisition and how that plays into, your vision for working with businesses.
Sure. You heard me mention this idea of embedded finance, right? And you're going to see other banks. You already are seeing other banks making plays like this. But for us, this is it's really a pure embedded finance play. We want to continue. We're going to power our customers and partners, but we want to aggressively maintain a relationship with our customers. We want to own the customer experience to the greatest extent that we can.
Yeah.
So in many cases, it's going to make sense for us to buy or build experiences that aren't really about banking. It's an experience that powers a business that allows, in the case of Linga, a restaurant, or you could look at any vertical, a hair salon, a gym, etc. You want to provide a mini ERP system that allows that small business to function fantastically well. And in the process, we can, with the API model I described, embed all of our payment services seamlessly
Yeah. Oh,
in
by
that
the
offering.
way, you also get the bank services and the financial services and the payment services embedded within it. Yeah, that's
And
brilliant.
you sell it as a package, saying,
Yeah.
this is incredibly painless and zero thought, zero anxiety to set up, but it flows. Those services are high margin and desirable services for us. So to have things like point of sale merchant services embedded,
Yeah.
to have all of your payments embedded, possibly to make it a one-click event to get credit, since we are seeing the whole operation of your business and all of your flows in and out of cash. We could say, you know what, the lease on your pizza oven is up. We want to click here and here, sign, and we finance that. because we have a
Talk
very
about
robust vendor
extending
finance
your
business.
talk about extending your business. I mean, as a bank,
I mean, this
um,
is I think in the
this is
future
great.
a big
Yeah,
way that you're gonna. This is how banking is going to be done, right? It's going to be done in the context of something else. I think less and less you are you're going to see less and less willingness of large customers to just engage with a bank,
as a
solely as a
bank.
bank. They're
Yeah,
going to want us to meet them where they are and where they live, and power their actual goals. They
Yeah.
don't exist to bank. They exist to sell hamburgers, or they exist
sure,
to
sure.
rehab houses, or they exist to cut hair. And we should be helping them do that
Well,
overall. We should just be helping small, medium, and large businesses run, and the banking services should almost be incidental in the background.
well, Stephen, I think
But,
that's a good segue into the whole idea is you're first and foremost PNC is a bank, but you're utilizing leveraging technology and your role there to enable banking to be simplified, create experiences embedded into things that your customers need and want. But first and foremost, still PNC is a bank. It just happens that these APIs allow banking to make it a little bit easier, right?
I mean, I honestly, I know it's a cliche, but I really do see banks ultimately as technology companies. Again, I know it's a horrible, horrible, tired cliche, but if you look at, like, banks are the most virtual of businesses, right? They don't we don't make PVC pipe or furniture or chairs or anything like that. We have no physical product or traditional services. We're ones and zeros in a
Yeah.
in a database somewhere. We keep track of balances, and we move those theoretical balances from point A to point B, or we create new ones and zeros after we, underwrite your loan. But much of what we offer is heavily tech driven. Ultimately we're a bank, but it's banking services offered in a very tech driven way. So I think robust technology is going to be ever more important to successful banking.
Well, Stephen, you have certainly given me a whole new perspective on banking and a new way to look at it, which I think is, I can sense your passion, but you've also made me very excited. Like, I want to get in there, right? Because I'm
I
a
am glad you're
technologist.
excited. If
It's
I've
really good.
evangelized even a little bit today.
You've done a brilliant job of that. Thank you very much.
John seems less
Stephen,
excited. We'll work on getting him worked up.
Well, he's in Miami.
I'm still focused on the sun and fun, Stephen. This has been
It's inherently
spectacular.
mellow. It's inherently mellow.
Stephen, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. We look forward to seeing the next exciting things that PNC and you and your team will be doing there from a tech perspective. And maybe we'll have you back on next year. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for your
Thanks for
time.
having me, guys. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a lot of
Bye.
fun.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Ola, wow, what an interesting conversation.
It's just
I still
fascinating.
struggle. Yeah, I
And it
still struggle with the
applies
whole idea of PNC being a bank, but a tech firm. It's so interesting.
it applies to so many other industries where you essentially have services that are being offered in quite a different way, and it's all about customer experience, solving the customer's problem, being in the middle of the customer's business, being
Yeah.
a unique player in their business. But I think it seems like PNC and certainly Stephen have really leaned into that digitization and connecting to customers, as he said, where they are. I just think it's brilliant. I think it's really brilliant, and I'm excited to see where they go next.
Yeah, it's a fun conversation for sure. Ola, always wonderful to see you, and enjoy the sun in London.
I will enjoy the sun in Miami, and say hello to the beach for me.
I will. Be good. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.